All right, let's dive into express entry. You know, that Canadian immigration system everyone's buzzing about. Specifically, we're tackling the big question from that YouTube video you sent. Can you really get permanent residency without a job offer waiting for you?
Yes, that video. It definitely paints a rosy picture, doesn't it? Promises a kind of shortcut to Canadian life. But like most things, the reality's a tad more nuanced.
Okay, so let's break down that nuance then. First off, gotta be clear, express entry isn't just about a visa, it's the whole permanent residency package. Big difference, right?
Huge. Visa is temporary, maybe tied to a job, a study program, that sort of thing. Permanent residency, that's the ticket to living and working in Canada indefinitely. Basically the same rights as citizens. Putting down roots, building a life, maybe even becoming a citizen one day, who knows?
So not just a quick visit, it's about making Canada home. And we should mention, express entry is aimed at skilled workers, folks who fit under 3 specific programs: Federal Skilled Worker, Federal Skilled Trades, and the Canadian Experience Class. Video kind of glossed over those, but those are the pathways we're talking about.
Exactly. And it's worth noting, these programs cover a pretty diverse range of skills and jobs, like Federal Skilled Worker, that's for professionals, doctors, engineers, tech folks. Federal Skilled Trades, that's for the hands-on experts, electricians, plumbers, welders. And Canadian Experience Class is for those who've, already got some Canadian work experience under their belt.
So someone with a trade certificate could be considered alongside a PhD holder. Seems pretty fair, actually.
Yep, Canada values all sorts of skills, wants a diverse workforce, but here's where that whole no job offer needed claim gets a bit tricky. See, express entry is a 2-step process.
2 steps. Sound like a dance move.
Kinda. First step, you submit your profile to this big pool of candidates, basically, tossing your hat in the ring. Your education, work experience, languages, all that goes in. Step 2 is where the ranking happens. They compare you to everyone else in the pool based on something called the Comprehensive Ranking System, or CRS for short.
So it is a competition after all.
It is. And CRS is the scorecard that determines your position in the race. Higher your score, better your chances of getting an invitation to apply. That's the golden ticket, the ITA.
And that's where the job offer myth comes back in, right? Because while you don't need one, having a job offer can boost your CRS score like crazy. Makes you a more attractive candidate, I guess.
Absolutely. It shows you've got a place lined up, someone's already vouching for your skills, signals to the immigration folks that you're likely to integrate well, find work, all that.
Okay, I think we need to unpack the CRS thing a bit more. It's obviously the heart of express entry. And for anyone listening who wants to maximize their chances, understanding it is crucial. We'll dig into that right after the break.
All right, so the CRS. It's kind of like this super complex algorithm figuring out how much you could contribute to Canada, to the economy, to society as a whole. They look at your age, education, what work you've done, how well you speak English or French, even your spouse or partner's skills get factored in.
Wait, so my partner's education and stuff counts too. Interesting.
Yep. Canada gets that immigration's often a family decision. But let's break down the biggies, starting with age. Younger you are, the more points you snag.
Makes sense, I guess. Longer working life ahead, more time to contribute, right? But does that mean if you're older, you're out of luck?
Not necessarily. Age is just one piece of the puzzle. Remember, CRS is about balance. You can be weaker in one area but make up for it somewhere else. Like maybe you're not in your 20s anymore, but you've got tons of work experience or a higher degree. That bumps you up.
So it's kind of strategic, gotta play to your strengths.
Exactly. And speaking of strengths, education is another biggie. Higher your education, more points you get. Master's degree, PhD, those will generally beat out a bachelor's. Shows you've got more specialized knowledge.
So hitting the books pays off in more ways than one, huh? Could give your CRS score a nice little boost.
For sure. Education is always a good investment, personally and A&D for immigration. Even if you've got years on the job, those formal qualifications can give you an edge. Now, let's talk work experience. That's one of the heaviest hitters in the CRS.
Right. Got to show you've actually done something, not just studied about it.
Yep. And it's got to be skilled work experience, especially in jobs that Canada needs. Remember those NOC codes we mentioned? Those are key here.
NOC codes, those were the 0A and D things, right? What exactly do those mean again?
Think of them like categories for jobs based on skill level and what the job involves. NOC 0, that's your managerial roles, like CEOs, directors, big bosses. NOCA is for professionals, usually need a university degree, doctors, engineers, teachers, that sort of thing. And NOCA is more technical jobs, skilled trades. You might need a college diploma or apprenticeship. Think electricians, plumbers.
Yeah. Okay, starting to get it. So not just NME work experience counts, it's got to match those specific NOC codes.
Exactly. And the more years you've got under your belt in those skilled jobs, the better.
So someone who's been a welder or plumber for years, that counts towards their CRS score.
Absolutely. As long as their trade falls under those eligible NOC codes, their experience is gold. And don't underestimate those trades. Canada needs skilled tradespeople, big time, so those folks are in high demand.
Huh. So theoretically, a skilled tradesperson could even outscore someone with a PhD if they've got way more experience.
It's possible. CRS is designed to be fair, recognizing different types of skills. Now, let's not forget about language skills, huge factor in express entry.
Yeah, Canada's got 2 official languages, English and French. Got to be able to communicate, right?
Exactly. Being proficient in either one or both can really boost your CRS score. Strong language skills are key for integrating into Canadian life, finding a job, just navigating daily stuff.
So brushing up on my French could be a smart move, even though I'm mostly an English speaker?
Absolutely. Becoming bilingual opens up a lot of doors. More job options, wider social circle. And those extra language points on your CRS score don't hurt either. To prove your skills, you'll need to take an approved language test, IELTS or CELPIP for English, TEF or TCF for French.
Okay, language skills, check. What else can impact our CRS score? We briefly mentioned spouses earlier, but what about them?
Oh yeah, your spouse or common law partner, their skills can add to your score too. Their education, their work experience, their language abilities, it all gets factored in, gives your profile a boost.
Wow, teamwork really does make the dream work. It's great that those factors can be combined to strengthen the application.
For sure. It's about maximizing your potential as a couple. And there are a few other things that can add points too, like having a sibling who's already in Canada, or if you did your post-secondary studies in Canada, or if you get nominated by a Provincial Nominee Program.
Provincial Nominee Program, what's that all about?
Each province in Canada, they've got their own immigration programs to attract specific skills they need. If a province nominates you, it's like a big bonus to your CRS score, makes getting that ITA way more likely.
So even if you're focused on express entry, it's worth looking into those provincial programs too.
Always good to explore all your options, see what fits best for your situation. So yeah, we've got age, education, work experience, languages, spouse factors, provincial nominations, and of course that optional job offer, which can be a game changer. This CRS, it's like a giant puzzle, but I think I'm starting to see how the pieces fit together.
It's not just about ticking boxes, it's about understanding the system, highlighting your strengths the right way.
Bingo. It's like a game. Gotta know the rules to win.
So for our listener who's soaking up all this info, what's the key takeaway about the CRS?
Biggest takeaway, express entry is competitive, and CRS is your ticket to the front of the line. Don't just apply randomly, take time to analyze your profile, see where you can improve your score, strategize.
So it's not just about being eligible, it's about being competitive.
Exactly. That's where the real work comes in. Assess your strengths, address any weaknesses, make your profile shine. Show Canada why they should pick you.
Okay, I think we've nailed down that CRS is the key to this whole express entry thing, but let's switch gears a bit, talk about the practical stuff. What documents do you actually need to have ready once you get that invitation to apply?
The documents, yes. They're the proof in the pudding, got to back up everything you said in your profile. Without them, your application could get delayed or even rejected.
So let's run through a quick checklist for our listeners so they know what to start gathering. First up, the Educational Credential Assessment, the ECA. Gotta have this, even if you studied in Canada, but your degree's from somewhere else. Why is that so important?
The ECA basically makes sure your foreign degree is legit, that it's comparable to a Canadian one. Government's got to verify your credentials.
Makes sense. And I got this takes a while, so better start early, right?
Oh, for sure. You don't want to be scrambling for your ECA once you get that ITA. The clock starts ticking as soon as you get the invitation.
That's
60 days to submit everything.
60 days. That's not much time at all. Okay, ECA. Got it. What's next?
Your language test results, of course. Gotta make sure those are up to date and meet the minimum scores for the program you're applying to.
We talked about IELTS and CELPIP for English and TEF and TCF for French. Those are the main ones, right?
Yep, those are the ones Canada mostly uses. All right, so education's covered, language skills are verified. How do you prove you've got the work experience you claimed in your profile? Reference letters, got to get those from past employers. They should outline what you did, your responsibilities, how long you worked there. Pay slips, tax docs, anything that backs up your work history is helpful.
Sounds like a mountain of paperwork.
It can be a bit, yeah, but it's all about showing you actually have the skills you say you do. And remember, it's got to be skilled work, Those NOC codes, 0A or B.
Right, those magic codes. Skills gotta match what Canada's looking for. What else do we need?
Proof of funds. This is crucial. Shows you've got enough money to support yourself and your family when you land in Canada. Bank statements, investments, anything that proves you're financially stable.
Ah, the practical stuff. Lots of folks probably forget about this part.
Happens all the time. Got to show you're prepared, can afford to live in Canada, don't want to show up broke.
True that. Anything else on this document checklist?
The usual suspects, police certificates, medical clearances, making sure you're admissible, not a security risk, all that good stuff.
Okay, so they really do a thorough check. Skills A and D character. Gotta tick all the boxes.
Yep. They want people who will thrive in Canada, contribute to society. Oh, and speaking of ticking boxes, don't forget, that optional job offer can really make a difference throughout this whole thing.
Right, it's like the bonus points item.
Exactly. Not essential, but definitely gives you an advantage. Shows a Canadian employer's already noticed you, wants you on their team.
Okay, so we've covered eligibility, the ranking system, that all-important ITA, even the document deep dive. Besides the whole no job offer thing, what makes express entry so appealing?
Well, it's fast. The whole process, from applying to potentially stepping foot in Canada as a permanent resident, can take as little as 6 months.
6 months? That's lightning speed compared to some other immigration routes.
It is. That's a huge draw for a lot of people. Plus, once you're a permanent resident, you can work anywhere in Canada. No strings attached.
Right, unlike some visas that tie you to a specific job or employer. Freedom of movement.
Exactly. And the whole system's transparent. The point system, it's all public, so you can plan, see where you stand, make informed decisions about your application.
That control over information must be a relief. Immigration's stressful enough without all the mystery.
For sure. Takes away some of the guesswork.
Okay, so express entry. Fast, flexible, transparent, A&D. You might not even need a job offer up front. Sounds like a pretty sweet deal.
It can be, especially for those who fit the bill and know how to play the game, so to speak.
So for our listener who's been hanging on every word, what's the big takeaway? What should they be thinking about if they're considering express entry?
If we loop back to that YouTube video you mentioned, the big takeaway is this. Express entry can be a fast track to Canadian residency, even without a job offer lined up.
That's a game changer, especially for folks who don't already have connections in Canada.
You got it. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is something the video kind of skipped over. Given what we've learned about the CRS, think about this. What could you do to boost your chances in the express entry pool?
Ooh, good question. It's not just about meeting the minimum, it's about maximizing your score.
Exactly. Maybe you're a few years older than that ideal 20 to 29 age range. Well, maybe now's the time to take that French course, bump up your language points, or consider getting that master's degree you've been thinking about.
Right, suddenly those decisions become more than just personal growth. They're strategic moves for immigration.
You got it. And even if you're in that prime age range, knowing the CRS helps you focus your efforts. Maybe volunteer in your field to gain more relevant experience, or start the credential assessment process for your foreign degree early.
It's like a roadmap to success.
Exactly. Knowing how the game works lets you make smart choices that can directly impact your chances.
That's the power of express entry. It's transparent, rewards you for being proactive, for planning ahead. Okay, so we've covered a lot, debunked myths, explored the CRS, even figured out what documents you need. But there's always more to learn, right?
Oh, always. Immigration rules can change, so staying up to date is key. Do your research.
Speaking of research, I bet our listeners itching to dig deeper into some of this stuff. Where should they go for more info about express entry?
The best place to start is the official website, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, IRCC. They've got tons of info on express entry, program guides, eligibility criteria, application instructions, the whole shebang.
Sounds like a one-stop shop for all things express entry.
It is, and they update it regularly, so you're always getting the most current info.
Perfect. Any other resources worth checking out?
There are also a bunch of great immigration consultants and lawyers who specialize in express entry. They can give you personalized advice, help you navigate the process.
Yeah, that could be super helpful, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed or just not sure where to start.
Absolutely.
Huh.
Always good to get advice from the pros, especially since immigration rules can be tricky.
Okay, so we've given our listener the knowledge and the tools to get started with express entry. But before we wrap up, I gotta ask.
What's on your mind?
We've talked a lot about the strategic stuff, the points, the documents, the whole process. But what about the human side of things? What advice would you give someone who's feeling all feels about this big move, Excited, anxious, all of it.
It's a roller coaster, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Excitement, anxiety, it all comes with the territory.
I mean, it's a huge EE life change, right? Leaving everything, starting fresh in a whole new country.
The key is to let yourself feel those emotions. Don't bottle them up. Embrace the ups and the downs. It's all part of the journey.
Ride the wave, as they say.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone in this. Tons of people have walked this path before you, felt the same things, faced similar challenges, and come out the other side. Connect with others who've gone through Express Entry, swap stories, share tips, support each other.
Finding that community can make a huge difference. Strength in numbers, right?
Absolutely. And don't forget about taking care of yourself during this whole process. Immigration, it can be tough mentally and emotionally. Make time for things you enjoy. Lean on your support network. Don't burn yourself out.
So true. It's easy to get caught up in the logistics, the paperwork, the stress. Got to remember to breathe.
Exactly. And even though it can feel overwhelming at times, try to keep the end goal in mind. Picture yourself living in Canada, exploring new places, building a new life, contributing to this amazing, diverse country.
It's about chasing those dreams, creating a future you're excited about.
That's it. That's what makes all the effort worth it.
Okay, so we've broken down Express Entry, tackled the CRS, even got that handy document checklist sorted. But before we wrap up, I have one more thought.
Shoot.
We've been super strategic, focusing on the practical side of things. But zooming out a bit, how does this whole Express Entry system reflect what Canada's all about?
That's a good one. I think Express Entry shows that Canada is serious about welcoming skilled people from around the world, recognizes that immigrants bring a lot to the table, help the economy grow, make society richer.
It's not just about filling jobs, it's about creating a more diverse, more vibrant Canada.
Exactly. And that's something to remember as you go through this process. You're not just applying for a visa, you're becoming part of something bigger. A community that values different perspectives, different experiences, different talents.
That's a beautiful way to put it. So, any parting words of wisdom for our listener who's ready to take the leap?
Embrace the challenge. Do your homework, be prepared, and don't hesitate to ask for help if you need it. Most importantly, keep that spark alive, that reason why you're doing this. Remember your dreams, the future you're building, all the amazing possibilities waiting for you in Canada.
Love it. We've covered so much ground today, from debunking myths to figuring out the CRS points game. But the real adventure starts now for our listener.
And remember, Express Entry is a living, breathing thing. Rules can change, those cutoff scores go up and down, new programs pop up. So stay informed, stay curious, and most importantly, stay hopeful. That Canadian dream, it might be closer than you think.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Express Entry. Hope you've learned a ton and are feeling fired up to take that next step. Until next time, happy exploring.